Welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at grid columns. So as you know, the main advantage of CSS Grid is that you can actually manipulate both the columns and the rows of the grid to create a two-dimensional grid system. That is a two-dimensional website layout. I already showed you how all of those layouts work, how the grid works and everything in the previous lessons. So right now we have this, right? So we have 6 different div elements, that is 6 different grid items inside our grid container, but each row has only one item, right? So there's only one column in each row. But we can actually increase the number of columns. That's what CSS Grid is all about, right? We can manipulate both the rows and columns so that we can get a two-dimensional layout. So what if I want more than one column in my grid? What if I want each of these elements to be in 2 different columns, like that? Okay, what if I want 2 columns and only 3 rows rather than 1 column and 6 rows? So I can do all of that by manipulating the columns, okay? So in order to do that, in here I'll be using the grid template columns property. So by using this property, I'm actually telling my browser that I need more columns. So I can use this property to specify how many columns our layout can have. We can also specify the width of each column in this property. So this is how it's done. Let me show you. So let's say I want 3 columns. Okay, so I want 3 columns. So I'll be mentioning the widths 3 different times. So how this works is the width of the first column, width of the second column, width of the third column. So if I want 3 columns, I need to specify 3 different widths 3 different times. So that's how you can use the grid template columns property to add number of columns to your grid and also specify the width of each column. So for example, let's say I want all the width to be the same, so I don't have any specific measurements for the width. It can just be equally divided among all the columns. In that case, I can give auto. So what this does is it's going to divide this available space, that is the 960 pixels, equally among all the 3 columns. So let's see how that looks. There you go. Can you see that? So all of these columns are equal in size, so it was divided into 3 different columns, and since we had 6 different elements, another row was created, and again we have 3 different columns in the second row as well. So right now you didn't have to specify the number of rows you wanted because the rows were automatically created based on the number of items you have. So if there were only 3 items in here, there would only be 1 row. If there were only 2 items in here, there'll be 1, 2, and this would be empty. Okay, so that's how it works. Let me show you. So let's remove all of these. Let me comment all of this out. So there's only 2 different columns right now, okay, and our grid template columns is mentioning 3 different rows with equal width. So let's see what happens. See, do you see that? There's 1 and 2. 2 of the spaces are taken up and the third is left empty because we have 3 columns in here. But if there were only 2 columns in here, this would be perfectly aligned. So this is how you can manipulate your elements, your columns, and the width of the columns and the number of columns and everything. So let me put this back. So we are back to what we had before. So 6 different items, 2 rows and 3 different columns because we created these 3 different columns in here. But what if I want each of these columns to have different widths? We can do that as well. Let me show you how to do that in the next lesson. I'll see you there. Thank you.